So good afternoon to all educators, researchers, scholars, and professors. Welcome to our universal philosophical community, the White Tower. Today, we'd like to introduce you to Mr. Jeremic. Good afternoon, Mr. Jeremic.
Good afternoon.
Mr. Jeremic is an accomplished philosophy and humanities educator with over 26 years of classroom and leadership experience, a national curriculum developer, textbook author, and international teacher trainer, passionate about student-centered education, critical thinking, and curriculum innovation. Mr. Jeremic is a recipient of the Best Teacher of the Region Award, recognizing exceptional educators from 6 countries of the former Yugoslavia. He's a founder of the Serbian Philosophy Olympiad and long-time contributor to educational projects with the Council of Europe. He is known for creating transformative learning environments and mentoring high-performing students and teachers. Now, he is seeking to bring this experience to an international school community that values inquiry, ethics, and reflective learning. Mr. Jeremic, we're very happy to have you here with us today.
Pleasure is mine, Dimitrios.
Recently, you have written an article entitled "How Critical Thinking Supports Education for Democratic Values. Is Philosophy with Children an Appropriate Tool?" I think that you have included many ideas which hit at the core value of education.
Yes, actually, after more than 15 years engagement connected with improving students' cognitive skills, especially through philosophy with children, I feel a need to reflect on the basic concepts of thinking skills, and in this article I highlighted my worries and doubts connected with critical thinking as it is presented in European documents.
Right.
Yes.
So if we start with critical thinking itself, let's start with a very crucial statement. People can argue as much as they like and about whatever they like, so long as they obey.
Yes, actually, this statement is adopted from famous Kant's article "What is Enlightenment?"
Mm-hmm.
And Chomsky used the same source, and it is a very interesting thing. Even if we are talking about Kant, we don't need to talk about Dewey or Chomsky or Lippmann. It seems to me that actually European framework has this spirit. You can argue, you can give arguments, counter-arguments, but you don't. You need to obey to our basic framework, and our basic framework is instrumentalistic and based on a kind of lucrative interest of a European community.
Before going a bit deeper into details, we would also agree with you by saying that the framework of competencies for democratic functions implies that thinking itself is a minor concept of democratic competencies, undervaluing thinking, so to speak. But however, thinking skills are both analytical and critical, alongside others such as listening and observing and conflict resolution skills and flexibility, adaptability, communication and cooperation skills. It's a bit multi-dimensional, I would say. Can competencies, as a first question, can competencies thrive in an emotionless world?
Actually, competencies should thrive. That's a job. That's a role of competencies. There are many different definitions of competencies, but widely adopted competencies are a combination of attitudes, skills, and knowledge. And in new European framework, even values are involved. I don't know why, but okay, values don't make problems there. And when we are talking about attitudes, we always have emotional aspect of attitudes. Or if there are no, if emotions are missing, there are no attitude. And most of our attitudes are irrational. We are talking about ethics. If we are talking about love, we are talking about art. It's a deeply irrational concepts, and based on the emotions, will, or who knows what, intuition, and of course, all competencies need to be involved with emotions.
I think likewise, because emotions are actually an element of our society. It's an element of societal dynamics, as you say. And human beings are not like machines or a cog in the wheel. They can't survive staying in a stagnant position forever without expressing their anxieties, their worries, their fears towards their fellow men. So thinking about the multidimensional side of skills, I think Lippmann's work states that skills are threefold. They're creative, critical, and caring. And if we put them within the context of democratic society and say that they're pivotal skills, so as not to be swayed by charismatic leaders, according to Weber, then the result is thinking skills. So thinking skills consist of creative, critical, and caring skills. But nowadays, there's lack of critical thinking. And we see that genuine criticism usually gives way to skepticism and post-truth politics, which, like you say in your paper, penetrate all cultural authorities like academic disciplines, journalism, politics, and ultimately lead to a superficial understanding of truth. Now, the question is, what can we do as human beings to react to this unpleasant situation? Is it high time we thought of our political culture?
It's a really important question, but at first I would think about who are we?
Yeah.
When I'm thinking, it's always I am thinking. There are not a category we are thinking, and
Yes.
as an educator, I'm commonly in the position that we are thinking together, and things are going like this. I am acting as a facilitator of thinking. Different options, different positions, different persons are thinking, sharing their ideas, and then we can talk about we are thinking. And this is a position which Habermas called intersubjectivity and intersubjective action. So when we are thinking, we need to communicate, talk with each other. So, and I think that the real question is, what can we do in our communities?
Yes, very crucial.
Otherwise, if we are not thinking about who is a person who thinks, is there any we or I or who is thinking? There is a big issue, and that's a point of my intervention connected with critical thinking. We need to reflect on our metacognition, reflect on I. What's going on with me when I'm thinking? To stop, not to go forward with thinking, to go forward with discussion, with action, just to stop and think what's going on with me. And it is not a strange concept for the pedagogy, for psychology. It is called metacognition. And you will find in almost all frameworks things like self-understanding, self-reflecting, thinking about yourself. Actually, we as a thinking subjects can stop and reflect on ourselves.
Very nice. And we're going to look at that distinction of these two notions between calculative thinking and meditative thinking a bit later, to see that there is a clear distinction in between them. It's not one and the same. So yeah, I would also say that we have to care for each other, to think of compassion for loss, for example, for human loss. We have to have anger at injustice, and at the same time limiting our envy and disgust to our fellow humans, especially now that there are a lot of wars going on for other ethnic, cultural, racial, or religious reasons. I think we shall give these notions of critical thinking a high priority. Now, to stay a bit further to the notions of critical and analytical skills, teachers have a tendency to separate them from each other, and they try to strictly define them. Thinking is more like a process, I would say, and it should be developed and cultivated through time. It takes time to cultivate your thinking skills. And that's the reason why, in my humble opinion, you can't separate them from the start. I mean, look what teachers do. Teachers try to evaluate learners' performance by designing descriptors, so that later on they can categorize students into performance levels, for example. But I think that the best they could do is to initiate learners into the thinking process at first, and let them time to think, contemplate upon their thoughts as they move on with the learning. And they always have to base their own work on Dewey's concept of self-reflective thinking, as you have previously said. And we know very well that Dewey also focused on democratic education. So thinking in education was the work of Matthew Lipman, a very, very important work. Matthew Lipman himself gives emphasis on the process rather than the outcome alone, if I'm not mistaken. So if we think like the thinking process is a threefold approach. I mean, there's the process, there's the outcome, but let us not forget the content itself. In your opinion, do we have to prioritize one aspect of thinking, for example, process over outcome or process over content?
Actually, the problem with the thinking, or maybe it's better to say a problem with the classification of thinking. next, the all classification of thinking are artificial. We are not only at one time critical or creative or caring, or if you want, we are not distinguishing emotions and rationality. All those things are going together. When I'm thinking, I'm in the same time creative, caring, emotional, and critical. So that's the main issue. And when we are reflecting on thinking, we need classification. I'm not against classification. Classification is very useful, but it is very big problem, big issues is when classification is using us. And when we have a framework, as you described, and many teachers do it, they're trying to evaluate, to fit students in classification. Is it he or she analytical or critical or creative? This guy is very creative. He has developed creative thinking. It's not. It's a very artificial. Every creativity has have a critical thinking inside of this creativity. There are not pure creativity. Even a mad person, lunatic, are not only creative. There is only one level of critical thinking. So I think all those dimensions of thinking are going together always. And if we prioritize critical thinking or creative thinking, or things I'm most afraid of all, skills we prioritize skills, not attitudes or content. We have a big issue. Let's say in this way, if you're talking about skills, it is some form of thinking, doing something. And when we are thinking, we are talking about thinking skill. So one part of competencies. We are always thinking about something. And this is a philosophical problem of content and form. And according to Aristotle is very good teacher for all of us. We can see that form and content are always connected. There is no content without form, no form without content. If there is empty form, emptiness is content of this form. Aristotle called it helomorphism. Hele, content, materia, and morphe, form, shape, cliché. And those things are going together. And what are we doing when are we developing only skills? We are promoting empty content. And empty content does not exist, so we are promoting emptiness, actually. And it is we can see a reflection in European framework. When we are talking about critical thinking, is thinking about anything. Come on, Mathiesis Universalis. This concept was a
bit confusing, a bit vague.
Yeah, it means you cannot think about society or person or I don't know, natural disaster in the same form. During Renaissance, philosophers thought that we can think about all things in this world as a kind of mathematics or some universal science. Critical thinking tends to be the same thing, and actually it's a very nice idea, but it doesn't work. So
does not apply to philosophy.
Yeah, when we are talking, we are thinking about something. I really will be happy if I was able to think about nothing. So yes, it's a very philosophical thing, but we are not able to think about nothing. When you are thinking, it's not nothing. So that's actually the biggest issue as I see in this concept.
Yeah, I mean, it should be more concrete, more specific, and not so universalized.
Yes, because we are always thinking about particular thing.
Right. Yes. Now, I'd like to mention the relation between calculative thinking and populist narrative. So there is a rise of populism, as you claim, in both political parties, and you also mentioned an example. I'd like you to further elaborate it. And according to Heidegger, the menace lies in the reduction of all thoughts to calculative thinking alone. So how dangerous is this calculative thinking if it is wrongly used and misapplied by politicians?
Calculative thinking cannot be misapplied. When you apply it, it is for the sake of humanity. It's always the sake of humanity. I will give you an example, which is not in my article, and I found this. I was thinking before a few weeks. I don't know exactly, during new old conflict between Israel and Iran, and I found this news. Literally, 85 persons are killed during Israeli attack on Gaza. Look at this sentence. We are talking about calculation. 85 persons, and we are in the trap when we are following what are saying people from Israeli government or Iran government, and look at what they're saying. How many persons were killed? Was it hospital or not? Who started the first? Who is terrorist? Who is not terrorist? Like kids. And it is strictly calculative thinking. So we need to decide who is good and who is a bad guy. What will we do? How many victims? How many civilians? How many hospitals? How many schools? How many years? Who started first?
Yes.
In this way of thinking, it is calculative thinking. We are losing humanity. And when we start to participate in this game, we are in calculative thinking and we missed ourselves. So this thing is very dangerous. Go back to American election. When Kamala Harris became a candidate for the president of the United States, the first thing she bring into politics after Biden was some level of irrationality, which would be dangerous in politics. But in the case of Harris-Trump, it is not dangerous. Here's why. Actually, there is a serious issue when we're talking about democratic values. In today's world, democratic values for most of people or teenagers can be more boring. So come on, it is so common. We are talking about human rights, and I think that Kamala in the start bring new emotions, but she really fast fell into the trap to play the Trump's game. And then we have a calculative thinking on the one side, and Kamala Harris, who tried to show to their voters or to show that Trump is talking nonsense. Come on, the potential Democratic voters know that Trump is talking nonsense. And when you are go to argue against nonsense, you are on the field, on the battlefield of your enemy, and he won. Instead, he won because he enforced you to play his or her games. The whole thing is very, very, very dangerous. when are you talking about calculative thinking? Whenever we calculate about what or how terrible are victims on one or the other side, we are really in the serious trap. Actually, it was my intervention connected with any framework, any existing framework in critical thinking.
Yes, it seems that what we're actually missing here is some form of self-reflection, some form of self-meditation, an element which is missing towards sustainability, towards personal and societal development. If someone told you what are the presuppositions for a democratic society to produce a democratic dialogue, a real dialogue, not a game, a political game, what would you say? I mean, if we think of ancient Greece, if we go back thousands of years ago, we would find some ancient Greeks, and then of course they would do even public debates, and they would share their own viewpoints among their fellow men. Do you think that leisure time is needed more than ever?
Definitely.
To devote some free time, more free time for ourselves and our like-minded people?
Free times are necessary, but it is not. Free time is not enough. It is important to mention there when we are talking about free time in ancient Greece. The ancient Greek word is schole, school. It is not a free time. It's very engaged time. Mm-hmm. You are engaged with yourself, with your friends, and you are talking about serious issues. I actually want to mention a few things where
yes, of course.
we can learn from ancient Greeks.
Of course.
There was a word called for persons who don't engage, who don't want to engage in debate, who don't accept arguments. This person was called misologos, the person who hates reason. Kind of fool, I don't know. And third interesting mention, this discussion was connected with political life. And when I'm talking politics, I'm not talking only about government. I'm talking about living together in a meaningful way. And the person who are not engaged in politics was called idiotes.
Yes, you're right.
And he was, and punishment, it was, I think, it was very, very, they can expect to be killed if you are an idiot. So we are talking, when we are talking about free time, we are not going about private lives, no privacy in ancient Greek polis. We are not talking about holidays. We are talking about situation where we free to do something good. And it is not strange that schole, is based in this ancient concept, because school is actually place and time when we need to be engaged with each other, to reflect on ourselves, to make things happen and to improve our life, to do something good. I'm sure that in the basic concept of democracy is the idea to live better. And we can find evidence in Aristotle's Politics. Look at the first sentence. All communities are aimed for something what is good. I'm paraphrasing. People want to live good. And it is kind of instrumentalistic thinking, but not instrumentalistic in a contemporary sense, to make a profit. instrumentalistics to make something good for all of us. Of course, there is a catch. In ancient Greece, there are slaves, there are children, there are strangers, and there are women. So only major adults need to be happy and to live good. And whenever we're talking about origins of democracy, of democratic dialogue, I prefer to go to Age of Reason, and especially to go to American Revolution. It is actually the first serious revolution, first serious democracy in the world. And when you are following the basic idea of American democracy, actually what happened, the founding fathers, first of them, wanting to make some benefits as a part of empire, about British Empire. But what happened? They found that it is better for them to make a new state, a new country. And Declaration of Independence actually is based on the idea, okay, let's make a state which is good for us. And if you're following, for example, John Adams' political writings, or Thomas Paine, even Jefferson, you can find that this is actually basic idea. And it is kind of irrationality. It is good for us. And then let's go through debate to find what is the best for us. I think that the main idea was deeply emotional. When we are talking, Dimitrios, what is good for you and for me, okay, we enjoy different things, and we can find what is good for us. And the debate and thinking is to find what is good for all of us. So
yes, exactly. What serves the common good?
Actually, yes, common good. I know it's not possible. Common good is not possible, but it is possible to go close to the common goods.
Yeah, and we shall all struggle for society's welfare. Nowadays, teachers, let's go to what happens to our schools. Traditional teaching approach versus contemporary one. So there are the traditional teachers who emphasize knowledge on the one hand, whereas modern teachers emphasize skills, techniques, and attitudes on the other hand. But the thing is that thinking skills use content from sensory, short-term, and long-term memory. And we have to bear in mind that learned content, the content itself is not safely stored. It follows a process, an active process, that of remembering. And that doesn't happen overnight. I mean, there are a lot of critical thinking skills involved, background knowledge is also involved. So we have to find ways as teachers to teach learners how to learn. For example, we know that learners with a foundation of knowledge have better critical thinking skills than others. And their short-term memory is not overloaded when it tries to process information or when they need to retrieve information from their long-term memories. So what do you think is a good way to make learners retain as much information as possible? Of course, it's not rote memorization. We don't focus on learning things by heart. But we shall. What kind of approach shall we have?
It's a really good question. Acquiring information is a very interesting thing. When we are talking about memorizing, if we are not, learning a poem, lyrics to repeat it like parrots, it is always, I don't know, about 10% of all the things we are read, listen, or meet it in different ways. About 10% we are remembering and put it in our long-term memory. And one way is thinking through the stories. But
stories seem very nice.
Yes, and
very nice way.
In cognitive psychology, it's idea, and I'm not happy with this idea. It is good idea if you are making story for yourself. But if you are teacher and you're promoting things which need to be remembered as a story, there is an assumption. Assumption is that I choose what is very important for my students, for them to remember. So it is kind of violence. Anyway, stories are fine, but I think it will be discouraging. The best way to acquire many information, many data, is to read, to listen, to think a lot. When we are reading, for example, we read many articles, and about 10% information are in our long-term memory. The whole process, when we are reading or listening or on any other way acquiring information, actually we are thinkers, critical thinkers. There is a reason why we choose exactly those information, and those information are important for us. And as a teachers, I think that we need to encourage students to read a lot. They not to read. I don't know. It's a really problem. Not only with today's children. When I was a little kid, I had a problem with concentration to read a lot. Anyway, they need maybe watch movies or listen podcast or any other way, or talk with each other about things they read, they listen. Actually, once they need to meet many information to acquire as many information as it is possible. As Heraclitus told the persons who are looking for gold have many mud in their hands and a small amount of gold, and this small amount is 10%. And some students are discouraged because they are reading a lot but cannot memorize all those things. They need to be encouraged. You don't need to memorize all these things. Actually, you are not able to memorize such big amount. What
you're basically saying is that stories could be used as the basis for the let's say for the exploitation of both receptive and productive skills.
Exactly. And
so in a way, learn by doing, actually.
Yes, actually, our memory, our thinking, our life is always
boost our memory. Yeah.
Actually, yes. And when we are talking about story, look at this concept. We communicate through email, you and me. Then we agree to make a discussion, video discussion. Look, we have a story. What happened on the beginning of our discussion? We tried, and we have a problem with the sound, and I need to restart my Zoom, etc., etc. Our life is going to the stories. When I'm talking to you about something, I'm talking a story. Maybe that's why Heidegger told, for example, that our authenticity is based on poetic thinking. in stories, in poems, not in logical thinking, not in instrumentalistic thinking. Actually, when we are talking to each other, or when we are reading something, and when we are presenting something to ourselves, it's always a story. And that's what cognitive psychologists knows very well. That's why it is proposed to make a story of all content we are read or watch or talk about.
Yeah. So
sorry, I really
please.
want to share something with you. Let's go back through time and find where is the origin of philosophy. In mythos. It's not a kind of Greek beer.
Ah, right.
Mythos,
Right.
very good beer. Actually, mythos means story.
Stories. Yes.
Yes, and you know, the first philosophers told we will not tell the stories, we will not be creative now. We will talk about arguments, we will be critical, but all Greek philosophers taking into account stories, myths.
Great. We couldn't agree more with you. So instead of asking, can all students engage in philosophical thinking and interpretation, we shall ask, are the students' thinking skills cultivated enough to improve their memory retention? So following all the ways you have just mentioned is a must-do for both teachers and learners. Let's say, for a start, if philosophy for children is compatible with formal educational settings and standards in today's world. Because we pretty much know that our education has a formal setting. But if we listen to Plato in Protagoras, Plato says knowledge cannot be taken away in a parcel. And when you pay for it, or when you have paid for it, you must receive it straight into your soul. And once you do this, you go away having learned it. And you're both benefited and harmed accordingly. So you have to take this into consideration. So do you think that our educational system has room for philosophy for children nowadays?
I'm not sure. Actually, I think our education system, whatever means our, because the situation is very similar in different countries, in different parts of the world. The most of the education system don't allow meditative thinking, philosophizing, and the most of educational system thinks that philosophy is kind of wasting of time, and time is money, and it is a serious obstacle in our education, and we can see results. I'm not happy about it, but we can see results. So there are a kind of place in, for example, some IB schools with theory of knowledge, or philosophy of children is usually extracurricular activity, and I see it as a serious problem.
Of course, it's also the fact that we have an emergence of technology, internet tools, and mobile phones. All of these tools distract students' attention from philosophizing, and access to all this technological information is more damaging than useful. And there is this plethora of information, digital information. We're bombarded with digital information left, right, and center. Young learners are not capable of processing this bulk of information and make something out of it. They can't even think in a logical way. What are the basic aims of philosophy for children. For example, you have already mentioned that one aim of philosophy for children is to enhance cognitive skills and critical thinking skills. Of course, we would like to introduce learners into philosophical awareness skills. Are there any other vital things that you'd like to mention? I mean, why do philosophy for children at schools?
Actually, you mentioned the main reason why we need philosophy with children in schools. When you are talking about fluctuation of information, technology, mobile phones, I'm not sure is it good or bad or more good or less good, I don't know. Anyway, when we are talking about technology, technology is elephant in the room. I don't know is it good or bad, but we need to live with this elephant. And this actually is a matter of philosophy. How can we live with this world now? How we can deal with the elephant in the room? For example, new emergencies connected with artificial intelligence. And people are kind of frightened of artificial intelligence, and they can understand them. I am using a GPT so much for my exploration, for my inquiry, and I'm thinking with it, and sometimes I'm a little feel uncomfortable because it reminds me on HAL 9000 from Space Oddity. But anyway, there is no reason to be frightened of artificial intelligence. And look what happened in education policies connected with artificial intelligence. Policymakers and teachers are afraid of plagiarism. I can understand it, but there are more important thing to think about artificial intelligence. Some of my students are using GPT as a support of mental health, kind of therapy. Talk with artificial intelligence about their issues. There is interesting part of one of the books from Beck Bede, French writer. I think the book is called Life Without End, where a daughter of the main character wanted to marry with artificial intelligence. On the other side, artificial intelligence can be very beneficial. We need to talk with children about using artificial intelligence. They will use artificial intelligence. They will use mobile phones. And we need to explore those tools together with them. I read an interesting book written by Shannon Valor. I think it's called AI Mirror. And she proposed an interesting exercise, which I introduced in my classroom. Ask GPT to write your biography and see what happened, how it understands you, how it will know you. And it was a very interesting exercise in my classroom. After a few months, my students continue with a variation of this exercise, and one of my students made a biography of different persons in her life. Another one asked GPT, what do you know about me? And this is another interesting exercise. So can you see that this is a very good exercise for philosophy children? Okay, let's see what's happened now. When you ask GPT to write your biography, there will be some correct information, but there will be many false information. What happened? How those cliches are working? This fluctuation of information you're talking about, technology, mobile phones, or everything else, can be beneficial for philosophy inquiry, but teachers need to be ready to deal with it, not to turn a hand away, or to not to see, or to tell, oh, don't use mobile phone, don't use artificial intelligence. I will check your article. Is it original or writing by artificial intelligence? That's not the way. I can understand that problem, but the real way, the real approach is to explore what's going on with artificial intelligence, for example. So you can see emergency for philosophical inquiry. Otherwise, we will have a serious problem.
Yeah, so we shall not exclude digital tools and technological tools. We shall incorporate them into the teaching procedure, so long as teachers are aware of the dangers that inhabit in using this technology in the classroom. They should always support students to use technology in the right way.
Exactly, and actually, they need to improve awareness of students' awareness about real danger of artificial intelligence. Rebecca Wittrop, I think before 2 or 3 weeks, in one interview, mentioned a problem. What happens with students who don't writing essays by themselves and ask artificial intelligence to write essay. Yeah. Actually, it's a problem. It's not a problem with essay. It's not a problem with the marks or examination. It's a problem with the conscience, with the thinking skills, with engagement, because those students have a problem to develop their competencies.
Exactly.
You know, when you have a slave who work everything instead of you, you became lazy and you are not able to do anything. So how to use technology, when to use, and in which amount of your task you can delegate to artificial intelligence. Otherwise, we will have a serious problem with the opacity of deep processes in technology. When we are using technology, we are only go to the surface, and if you are not understand what is in depth, what is not presented in interface, you know, it's a problem, master of slave and slave, as it was presented in Hegel's philosophy.
Yes.
We are masters, right. But we became a slave because we delegate all of our business to artificial intelligence, and we became slaves because we are frustrated with our artificial intelligence. But there is an encouraging fact I want to share with you.
Yes, of course.
New research conducted by, I think, Stanford University showed that new generation know how to deal with the technology.
The generation Z.
Z, yes, Zoomers.
The Zoomers, yes.
Are very good at it, because they know that mobile cellular is smartphone is a tool, just a tool.
Just a tool, yeah.
I'm a little older, so I know. For example, pencil is my tool. When I write a pencil, and I can put it away and talk with you. And I found that my students, in my personal actual research, is compatible with Stanford's research. They actually know when to use a mobile phone, when to use Google Classroom, for example, and when to put it down and talk. And there is another encouraging fact in the same research. Students want to learn philosophy, especially like existentialism. And they explained it to me. We are overwhelmed with technology, with smartphones. We want to talk. We want to think about meaning of our life. They are very open. in this idea. And another interesting thing, those research show, when they asked students which mean of communication you prefer, the most of them told in person, no email, no phone call, no Viber, to talk in person. The same thing is with my student. So it's an encouraging fact, and it is so understandable for me. For you and me, maybe Google or smartphone are something new or interesting, but it is less interesting for the younger generation.
Yeah, that's an
maybe visual thinking, but let me to enjoy my visual thinking. So,
yeah, that's very encouraging. It's for their own good to utilize it as a mere tool for learning.
Exactly. And of course, we are limiting as teachers. You can not teach every student, but we can hope that most of them will found actually this point you mentioned.
And here I'd like to also mention something which is at the core of philosophy for children at schools. When teachers do philosophy for children, there are many times when children think that, I'm going to meet a block, or I'm going to get confused. At times I feel sad when I listen to a teacher telling me that kind of story, or they get upset of something, or they may say something that seems a silly idea in front of their peers. Sometimes they get laughed at. The things that they say are controversial, and then the peers won't like them so much. Obstacles that can be overcome through the teaching of philosophy at schools.
Those obstacles are very, you are talking about, are real, and they need to be overcome, and they can be overcome. And in the basic idea of philosophy of children is something which is called community of inquiry.
That's very, very important. Would you like to, let's elaborate a bit on that notion.
Many practitioners are forgetting about community of inquiry. Community need to be encouraging, and each student can feel free to talk about their point of view, ideas in front of their peers. And this community of inquiry needs to be formed, and it takes some time. When you the first time implementing philosophy with children, students feel some are anxious, some are excited, some are feel a little frustrated, and there are some exercises, games, icebreakers, energizers, and other team building activities to prepare a community of inquiry for a real philosophical dialogue. We don't need to talk only about children. When we are talking with other people, we have some inner obstacles. For example, I'm sometimes afraid not to say something stupid, something silly, and I can understand students. And the good method is to create community of inquiry. So the students need to take time to know each other good, to be open. And there are some exercises, games I'm using to encourage students to be more open. And so you're right, yes, it's a serious obstacle. And actually, I'm also using collaborative learning structures by Kagan. His structures are very, very good for accelerate creating of community of inquiry. And I need normally I need about 2 or 3 weeks to create community of inquiry in the classroom. And I have 1 or 2 classes, 2 periods a week. So when we are talking about 2 or 3 weeks, we are talking about 3 to 6 periods. It's possible. It's not taking so much time, but it takes time, and practitioner should not be frustrated if philosophy children is not working in the first 2 or 4 periods.
Yeah, so the more students are engaged in this learning process and collaborate with their peers and do either pair work or group work, the more comfortable they feel to share their ideas, to collaborate by listening to others, by having this will to understand, by handling some actual disagreements that are very natural, and by actually moving from the being to becoming. I mean, everything is from the being state to becoming. I mean, they would like to become better version of themselves, for instance. They would like to become better citizens of tomorrow. So yes, a community, I also think that community is all about getting together and being brave enough to share your ideas by listening and valuing others' ideas as well. Rather than hearing things that always solidify your own viewpoints. I mean, your ego is not everything. You're not the center of the world. There are other people as well who would also like to support you once you give them the proper attendance and value their own ideas.
In my experience, all community of inquiry are going to the 3 phases. First phase is subjectivism.
Intimacy, I would say, intimacy.
You can call it however it wants, but in the first steps,
intersubjective,
subjective, very subjectivitism. And next steps is relativism, and then in the third steps, thinking is starting. So in the first steps, I am right, and my thinking is proper because it's me. In the next step, we have relativism. Everything is truth for the person who is talking about something. And in the third point, I am ready to hear, first to hear another person, then to think about her or his argument, and then to reflect on argument, and to agree or disagree, or to start or debate. So subjectivism is always the first step, and it is normal. The real problem is when you are subjectivist to the end of your life, all your life. It's a really big problem. But subjectivism on the beginning of thinking, it's not a problem. It's a phase, like early phase in human development. And you're talking also about intimacy. Intimacy. Sometimes we take it for granted in the classroom. It is not taking for granted. Many students, even each student is afraid to talk about intimacy because, especially about emotions, we feel vulnerable when we are talking about emotions. And in my experience, the best way to improve this part of community of inquiry is to make a role model of yourself. Talk about your fears, about your feelings.
Yeah,
as a teacher.
That would be a good start.
You say, "Oh, my teacher is afraid of something. He or she is not omnipotent person. She's a person as we are." And if my teachers can talk about it, I can't.
And we could start first by talking about ourselves. Yes.
Very philosophical approach. Start with yourself.
Yeah, good start. Yes, that's a very nice idea.
Another important thing is to encourage students in your classroom, especially shy students who are afraid to talk.
Yes, yes.
And many times students are talking nonsense. And sometimes you say, yo, so great, please, thank you for sharing it with us. Because there are no such a thing as a total nonsense. It's a matter of emotions which are very important.
Yeah, it's just they face this mental and emotional block, and once they overcome it, they are more open-minded. They feel much more comfortable to speak in front of others. It takes time.
Yes. And let's go outside the classroom. So that's very important things, and generally philosophy has many beneficial things. But one of beneficial things is that there are no stupid answers. All teachers told there are no stupid questions. I think there are stupid questions.
All answers are acceptable. There are no true or false answers. We don't criticize anything. Everything is acceptable.
Actually, when you tell something silly or something stupid, it's very good.
Yeah,
it's very good.
Sure.
I have in mind Wittgenstein, who told that for the God's sake, talk your nonsense. It's better to be aware of your nonsense than you adopt it and to be inside you. So be free, be brave to tell a stupid thing.
Yes, because
stupidity.
Of course, everything is about adaptability and change, not conformity.
I wouldn't say stupidity in the classroom, but we can talk about stupidity as a kind of our thinking which are not so, which have weak arguments or no arguments, but we believe in it. And when you talk something you believe without any argument,
yeah, because
it's very good to be aware of it, to reflect on it, and to put away this stupid thing out of your mind.
Yeah, because a so-called stupid idea could be very easily turned into a very productive, thoughtful, and innovative idea at the very end of the day, if it is processed.
And again, when you're sometimes you think something is stupid, and you tell something maybe it's stupid, maybe not, but some other person can tell, hey, but that's a great idea, and find some point of view you haven't in mind. We don't know what is stupid, what is not stupid, what is good or bad idea before we reflect on it, and it is beneficial if someone else reflects on our ideas. And actually, we are talking here about sharing of intimacy. There we have an ancient idea of friendship. When we are talking about in Plato's Dialogues or sixth book of Aristotle, Nicomachean and Ethics, we are talking about friendship as an openness to others, one soul in the two bodies. And that's exactly what is my aim in community inquiry, to have one soul in different persons.
And then the result will be to transform humans into a holistic being, consisting of ethical, reasonable, and reflective ideas, because you would totally change an individual by totally transforming its behavioral attitude. And behavioral skills have also a lot of importance.
Actually, yes, and you can see we are not talking only about thinking, about feeling, about behaving. We are talking about being. And let's go back to beginning of our conversation. You talked about free time. about schole. Yes, that's schole. It's a school period where people are relaxed to talk about something. They feel free, not as a leisure, but a free time to do something with themselves. It's a basic idea of school, of schole.
So we have to give a completely different definition of leisure time, not in the contemporary sense, looking absent-mindedly out of the window by doing nothing in particular, but taking advantage of leisure time and feel like it belongs to us.
Exactly. You know, you can. It's a good place to remember Isaiah Berlin and his two concepts of freedom. When we are talking about leisure, about free time, we are talking about negative freedom. What is leisure? When I'm not going to school, when I'm not going to work, when I'm not going to deal with the administration, bureaucracy, I can do what? Okay.
That's it. So completely change our perspective of what leisure time is.
Exactly, and I think it's a big deal in ancient Greek society. They knew what schole actually is. Of course, schole is not only for philosophy. Schole was for politics. Schole was for art, for literacy, for physical education, for it was a freedom for, not a negative, it was positive aspects, not to be free of, but to be free for something. I'm free to learn, free to exercise, free to watch movies, not to watch movies just to, I don't know what to do, but looking at Netflix to reflect on movies. And it is actually a different idea of leisure.
So feel completely free to develop all of your aspects of yourself. That's the basic idea. And one last question I'd like to close with. What is the most flashy moment that you remember throughout your Philosophy for Children classes?
There were so many. And now when we talk about stupid answers, I can remember one situation before many years when I just started with Philosophy for Children. I started with Heraclitus.
Yeah.
Yes, and all my lessons were one fragment, and one of the fragment was when Heraclitus was alone in his cottage beside the fireplace. It was cold. And he was, beside the fire, and some his students entered his room, and look at them, surprising. What happened with the big Heraclitus? He's so poor. And Heraclitus answered, there are also God in there. And one of my students who wasn't so engaged and had a bad mark in philosophy, I asked him what this fragment means. There are also many gods. And he answered, it is because of fire. Look, this strange situation. He made connection. Heraclitus thought that fire is a basic element. Of course, it's Aristotelian interpretation. That logos is more important. But this student connected fireplace with fire as a fire of arche, of a basic element of reality. And my first unconscious reaction, I wasn't told it, what a stupid answer. And in the next steps, I was thinking, hey, how I know that this answer is stupid? Maybe Heraclitus exactly think on fire. And okay, my student get A. So this is first what came to my mind. Another interesting point, yes, and on many of my classes I'm conducting Socratic dialogues.
And, Socratic dialogue, yes, I haven't mentioned that.
Interesting situation after a few classes, one of my students gave hand up and tell, teacher, now I will be Socrates and I will propose questions. Go to the classroom. Is it okay for you? I told it's okay. Mm-hmm. And this student lead Socratic discussion. So it's a flashing moment for me, and I was able to feel to be in the shoes of my students in this situation. So there are many flashing moments. Actually, in each class there are some.
That was a really brave moment on behalf of your student who volunteered to be Socrates himself.
Exactly. That's what I was talking about. Community of inquiry. They really feel free when you create community of inquiry well.
And of course, do your students sit in a circle or?
Depending of class.
Depending on the situation,
sometimes I'm using traditional, sometimes working groups, sometimes in circles, sometimes we are going through corridors in the school, look at the mosaics and pictures, or, my classes are different. And when I'm conducting Socratic questioning, semicircle is must.
Philosophy for children at school is not an oxymoron. Apart from discussing big ideas and get into deeper thinking, it all boils down to sharing crucial humanitarian issues with others.
I want to thank you for this opportunity. I want to tell you that I enjoyed in our discussion. And I want to reflect on our discussion. I found that we are together, and during our dialogue, we found new ideas, which I haven't in mind on the beginning of our conversation, which is a good illustration of all the things we have talked about.
Yes, because we're on the same page. We're both educators and think likewise, I would say. Yeah.
And I think it will be beneficial if educator will have more opportunity to think in order to create new ideas, new concepts, or at least to reflect on their practices. And connection where people can find me, the best. If you are talking about digital space, I think the best place to find me is LinkedIn. It is only one profile I'm really caring about, and professional profile. I prefer to read or to write, not to create social media profile or portfolio. So everything about books and articles and the workshops I'm conducting, it's the best.
It's included there, yeah.
LinkedIn is the best place you can contact with me or be updated about my work and engagement.
Yes, we will include your link below our video so that followers, scholars, educators, researchers could also follow you. So thank you very much for talking to us today about this crucial issue of philosophy for children. Actually, it's the first time we have ever raised that issue in our philosophical community. And as I've said before, I would like to go on with our discussion sometime in the near future by further elaborating on some relevant issues, or by discussing our experiences from now on, from September on at schools. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Dimitrios.
For being here with us today, and I hope to meet together again and have another interesting conversation like this one.
I'm open for it every time. Thank you very much.